Oh, yeah. Come in with a hard landing there. It is good to see on the Wolf Report, 12-ish, 12 noon. Typically try to do that. Sometimes it might be slightly after if we run into a glitch or something like that. Sometimes you're working between different things as you're setting these up and going live and airing things. You run into that. But our attempt is to be at 12, straight up and down, 12 p.m., Monday through Friday, the Wolf Report. This week, we're going back to heavy recording after we've done an upgrade, a big upgrade, and a lot of moving around the studio. And we're still taking a few things and moving them around, but we're mostly done. And then the next phase of it will be a camera upgrade to some really expensive cameras in the near future. Probably might even go into 2027, but sometime in the next few months. That is the hope anyway. The show is brought to you by Wolf Nation Coffee, and you can see that QR code on the screen. That is the main thing we do. We have our merch items. We're going to have in studio store, if I can get that out, and there'll be a display here that we will show and take pictures for people that are local or would just like for us to ship from here, and we can do that. And we've got new items, and we're coming up with new ones. In fact, my son, Jerry Wolf, he said today, "Dad, we need this," and I said, "You're absolutely right." And we're going to get that done. He's looking for some merch for the Just How Big a Boy Are You show. It is his favorite show of all that we do. He likes what we do. But the Just How Big a Boy Are You, which is only seen on Roku, which we're now on, or Substack, and a few clips that are out there on the other networks. But Roku or Substack, it's the only place you can see that show. You can see it free at Roku for right now. Later, it'll be a sub requirement. $5 a month or something like that at Substack. It is a requirement to be, you can get one free viewing by joining free, and then you can use it on whichever one you want. But obviously that's one of the ones behind the paywall. And then if you join it, you can join us for as little as $4.17 a month. If you pay by the year, you pay monthly, it's $5. So we're here to not try to money grab or anything like that. It just helps us pay the expenses. I want to give a shout out to Pickaxe. Pickaxe is an awesome social platform that we are a content creator in, and we are excited to be in that more than anything else except the Roku. And we're excited, super uber excited about Roku. And anyway, let's get started in the news. I've been meandering here. It's okay. This week as the D-Day financial attack goes into battle, the Iranians, well, they remind me again, I've got to go back. It's my own invention, Tehran Tom. And like Baghdad Bob, they like to talk smack when they have nothing. I mean, nothing. And this article here from Newsmax, Iran defies Trump's sanctions threat, warns Gulf oil could be cut off. Really? I mean, does anybody believe anything they say? And not only that, even worse, does anybody believe they can do anything that they say like that? They get a lucky shot in here and there. But this article by Newsmax Wires says Iran is vowing to resist President Donald Trump's expanding economic pressure campaign, with senior officials warning that Tehran could retaliate against U.S. allies in the Persian Gulf if Washington continues efforts to isolate its economy. Well, it's going to happen. You face it. Take your best shot. You've heard of some. There's been a few soldiers hurt, yes, but you are just digging your hole deeper. That's not going to stop what's going on. The New York Times is in reporting published Monday detailed Iran's increasingly defiant response to new U.S. sanctions announced by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the administration's threat of even broader economic measures. Iranian Finance Minister Syed Ali Mandana Zadeh said Tehran was already prepared to withstand additional American pressure, telling Iranian state media that the government had a 2-year plan covering the country's economic affairs. The 2-year plan got blown up. When you have others out there saying that you're not going to be able to eat, you're not going to have food, and that's your economy's sinking. Sanctions are not new to Iran, he said. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also rejected the campaign, accusing Washington of using economic warfare that would hurt ordinary Iranians rather than force Tehran to change course. Oh, like they're really concerned about the ordinary Iranians. You mean the ones that you take out in the streets and you torture and you kill in ugly ways? Don't want to say those words on here, but you know what I mean. It happens every day. So please, come on. They go on to say by waging economic warfare and imposing multi-layer sanctions, the enemy seeks to sow despair, put pressure on people's livelihoods, and undermine social trust. The RGC has no social trust, the Guard said in a statement carried by Iranian state media. Tehran Tom Bessent announced sanctions against more than 60 entities, individuals, and vessels around the world that Washington says have helped Iran procure illicit nuclear and missile technology, conduct cyber operations, or generate oil revenue. The latest measures target what Bessent described as 5 vital Iranian economic lifelines: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. Bessent also warned that the United States would take additional steps to collapse every last option for Iran. Trump has threatened Iran with economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale and warned countries doing business with Tehran that they could face severe economic penalties. Iran's largest trading partner include China, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates, who, by the way, has announced that they're not going to do business with them because of the attacks that they've had on their country. They said that last week. No trade, no financial transactions with Iran. So you lost one there. So anyway, it goes on and on. But this is empty threats. Can they do some terror? Yeah, because they're masters at terrorism. I get so sick and tired of people trying to prop up this regime, not the Iranian people, the regime, as if there's some sort of freedom fighters, doing the goodwill from Iran against all their enemies. No, they are the enemy. This is Dave. This is Dave's point. Anyway, a report cites economic squeeze on Iran is working. Iran's currency has taken a hit, and inflation is projected to hit its highest level, 68.9% since 1979. Iranians are having trouble affording basic needs, and jobs are disappearing as recession fears rise. And also, they're having trouble paying paychecks. Oil exports have also collapsed amid the war with the U.S., as the country is now essentially no longer exporting oil. Maybe that's what they meant. No oil was going to move, no shipping. You're right. It's yours. The report comes as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Monday signaled that a campaign aimed at Iran and dubbed Operation Economic Outcast would include coordination among allies. Quote, "This is a sustained campaign to collapse every last option for Iran," Bessent said. "The campaign we begin today will gather force with every day that follows and will not end until this regime stands alone." There's more that can be said there. It is enough. I want to move on. Bibi Netanyahu said that Iran tried to kill one of his sons. The Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, said Monday that Iran had tried to assassinate one of his 2 sons as he argued for security protection for candidates seeking to lead the country. During a phone interview with Israel's pro-government channel 14, Netanyahu was asked about discussions over security protection for his main political opponent, Gadi Eisenkot, ahead of the October 27th election, and compared it with the protection provided to the prime minister's sons. Quote, Iran tried to murder one of my sons, Netanyahu said, according to the Jerusalem Post, without revealing which son, Avner or Yair, was targeted. And this is why this promise I am making is more than a luxury. Without it, they could not succeed. They could succeed. People need to show some restraint, especially during an election campaign. I spoke with the Shin Bet chief, David Zini, and asked him to provide appropriate security to any prime ministerial candidate. Netanyahu provided no details about the alleged assassination attempt. Iran's mission to the United Nations did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. Shin Bet, Israel's domestic security and counterintelligence agency, declined to provide a security detail for Eisenkot, the Times of Israel reported. On Monday, Shin Bet said it would allow armed guards for Eisenkot, but would not provide them itself. And so this has happened in the United States as well. There's been, there's Secret Service protection, but there has been times for candidates running for office that was refused by the Biden administration. We remember that. That Robert Kennedy Jr. was needing protection. They refused it. He was over the threshold for what provides that. And very late in the game, I think that they finally did, if I remember right. So anyway, House Dems demand answers on the Iran war costs. They're beating that drum. And it is expensive, there's no doubt. Nearly 50 House Democrats demanded that President Donald Trump and War Secretary Pete Hegseth provide a detailed accounting of the cost of the U.S. war with Iran. As the conflict enters its 6th month and the Pentagon faces billions of dollars in additional expenses, NBC News reported Monday. The lawmakers led by Colorado's Jason Crow, New Hampshire's Maggie Goodlander, and California's Derek Tran said the administration must explain how much the war has cost taxpayers and how the prolonged conflict is affecting American families. What was billed as a 2-week operation is now a full-scale war that has lasted for over 150 days, cost over $37 billion, and claimed the lives of 18 service members, the Democrats wrote in the letter obtained by NBC News. At the same time, prices across the country have gone up significantly, placing the burden of this conflict on American families. They have more to say. I think we would all agree with that assessment. Yes, 18 have died. Yes, it is very expensive. I think the American public, by and large, though, although they don't like what has happened, most people I talk to from the conservative point of view say deal with it and then get out. Deal with Iran. It's been far past due. Just saying, not saying everyone, but most people I talk to, they're willing to absorb this now, even though it's not fun, and they predict that will happen. That they will outlast them. The Houthis. Hey, here comes the Houthis. They say they've attacked a ship off the Saudi Arabian coast. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis attacked a vessel off Saudi Arabia's port city of Yanbu in the Red Sea. The group's military spokesman, Yahya Saree, said in a televised speech on Monday, Saudi Arabia's national shipping company, Bahri, later said one of its vessels, the Amzan, was involved in a maritime incident in the Red Sea earlier in the day, adding that all crew members were safe and no injuries had been reported. The company said it remained in contact with the vessel and was closely coordinating with the relevant authorities. Earlier, the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Agency said a tanker had been struck by an unknown projectile 63 nautical miles west of Yanbu. So, again, they're still firing off things. The Houthis are working at the behest of the Iranians. I think we all understand that. The Houthis just love to get out there every once in a while and let their name be heard. They really do. We covered some of this yesterday about the attempt on Barron. There's news out there about that. We won't go back into that. This war between Canada and America over tariffs, there's some news on that. The president had some things to say, and Mark Carney, as he says he's going to war over this. Anyway, President Donald Trump told Canadian leaders on Monday to fall in line, quote, end quote, or face consequences that would be, quote, far worse, end quote, than the tariffs he has already imposed. As Prime Minister Mark Carney accused Washington of trying to subordinate Canada. Trump's warning on social media came as he threatened new 50% tariffs on Canadian vehicles, auto parts, and steel amid escalating tensions between the two countries. Carney said U.S. trade demands had confirmed Canada's fears that Washington was seeking to dismantle major Canadian industries. Nonetheless, he said Canada remained willing to negotiate, but only if the United States approached the talks as a partnership between sovereign countries. An attitude at the negotiating table that Canada is a subsidiary of the United States is, quote, not something we're going to accept, end quote, Carney said. Carney was even more blunt in French. We learned during the negotiations that the Americans want to destroy our major industries, including auto, steel, and aluminum. That was one of the main reasons we said no, it was a bad deal. The fiery words from both sides show how U.S.-Canada relations have deteriorated since Carney walked away from trade negotiations with the Trump administration late Friday, triggering the president's threatened 50% tariff the next day on about $20 billion worth of Canadian goods in response to Carney's announced dollar-for-dollar retaliation beginning September 8th. The president says Canada has been ripping off the United States of America for years, criticizing what he called the country's ridiculously high tariffs on American farmers. Carney said Washington's auto sector proposals would gradually have the effect of dismantling Canadian production. This is the most successful automotive partnership in history, Carney said, referring to the deeply integrated Canada-U.S. industry. Meanwhile, Ontario Premier Doug Ford unleashed his own tirade. In an interview with the Associated Press, he said Trump had underestimated Canadians' willingness to endure economic pain rather than give in to the U.S. pressure. We're all in, Ford said. Up here, we're at a fever pitch. Everyone's in for an economic war. They know they're going to have to sacrifice. Trump responded in a social media post by attacking Ford personally, calling him, quote, the less charismatic, intelligent, and overall unimpressive brother of the late, great Rob Ford, and once again referring to Canada's Prime Minister as Governor Carney. Ford dismissed the insults. If you think an insult from him hurts me, well, bring it on, buddy. I'm ready. Ding, ding. Can we hear the bell? Let's get him in the ring. Let's get ready to rumble. Ford is a progressive conservative whose party differs from that of Carney, a liberal, but the two underscored broad political unity in Canada over the trade fight with Trump. Ford said everything is on the table if the dispute worsens, including cutting off electricity and critical minerals from Ontario. Critical minerals are increasingly important to U.S. national security and manufacturing. The Pentagon has sought more secure supplies of minerals used in military aircraft, missiles, munitions, and electronics as Washington tries to reduce reliance on China, which dominates the mining or processing of several strategically important minerals. Ford said Canada should also consider increasingly severe retaliation if Trump continues targeting Canadian industries, including oil and potash, while Ontario could raise electricity prices or stop sending power south. We power 1.5 million homes and businesses, Ford said. Everything's on the table. I'll do whatever it takes. Wow. Stay tuned, folks. It's going to continue to heat up. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Another article of interest in the time we have, Trump wants a $100,000 fee for the H-1B worker visas. He said that these are for the highly skilled foreign workers that have been blocked by the courts, those visas. The fee, first temporarily imposed by Trump last year, dramatically raises the cost of visas that are heavily relied on in the tech, education, and research sectors. The federal judge in June ruled that the fee was illegal and blocked the Trump administration for collecting it. A Boston-based appeals court is reviewing that decision, while a different court considers whether a judge properly rejected a challenge to the fee by a major business group. Trump's temporary fee increases expires in September, 1 year after it was issued. The proposed rule by the Department of Homeland Security, posted in the Federal Register on Monday, would make a fee of $103,265 permanent. It could be finalized by the end of the year. The H-1B program lets the U.S. employers hire foreign workers with training in specialty fields and offers 65,000 visas annually, with an additional 20,000 for workers with advanced degrees approved for 3 to 6 years. Those visas typically come with fees between $2,000 and $5,000 before Trump's order. The fee would not apply to visas granted to foreign citizens already in America on student visas who make up a large share of the new H-1B recipients, or to renewals of current visas. So we will see in that ongoing war in the courts. But going back to the court, the Supreme Court has opened the door to Trump's mail ballot restrictions before midterms. The Supreme Court on Monday lifted a judicial decision blocking the president and the administration from implementing his executive order to restrict the use of mail-in ballots ahead of the November midterm elections that will decide control of Congress. The justices granted a Justice Department emergency request to put on hold an injunction that Boston-based U.S. Judge Indira Talwani imposed in June, preventing the Republican president from proceeding with his directive in a coalition of 23 mostly Democratic governed states and Washington, D.C. that had sued to stop it. The court has a 6-3 conservative majority. The 3 liberal justices dissented from the decision. This action leaves the open the door for the state suing again in the coming months as the midterm contest approaches. By the way, for the record, I will be back after the passing of my wife, and I took a break. I will be back in November on Election Day, serving with my precinct, and I love to do so. It's a wonderful bunch of people, and I love to meet the voters as they come in and serve my community. So I'm looking forward to being back. I've been gone for months, and November feels all right. And it's a big election, and I want to be there and be a part of it. Of course, I voted even through all the difficult days. It was very tough sometimes because a couple of those came around that time, runoffs and things like that. But I was able to get out and vote, and I'm thankful for those early voting sites. I know the presidents talked about just Election Day, but it is necessary for some of that, and it was for me, and I appreciate that very much. One last article, and we won't do really hardly any sports. We'll update that tomorrow. The baseball is going on, and we got the football in. Baseball, we'll catch up on the standings and everything tomorrow on the Wolf Report. But this order that is talking about is going to cut. They're looking to cut some of the visas that are already out there, and a mass cut ever. 200,000 of them. They're talking about cutting ever. 200,000 foreigners. The Trump administration is preparing to revoke the business and tourism visas of up to 200,000 foreigners who have applied for or are currently seeking asylum status in the United States. If it happens, the move will be the largest single mass revocation of visas in U.S. history. Amazing. Looking forward to studying that a little bit more. Of course, right now we don't know exactly what will happen, but we will see. And maybe one last thing, because we always like to give good news, and I have one here. Some fun news. Good news and fun news. A New York gas station encouraged patrons to pump it up last month, and they weren't talking about fuel. Instead, the Half Moon Sunoco, 25 minutes outside of Albany, was helping customers move past the pain of skyrocketing gas prices by offering a chance to dance for a discount. The rules were simple. Customers could dance for 15 seconds or more and receive a discount of 20% off their entire bill. I just danced to the beat of my own drum while singing, "I'm dancing for a discount, I'm dancing for a discount," Denise LaPointe, a local bus driver, told the New York Post, just being my goofy self. The dancing discount promotion was the brainchild of the gas station's social media manager, 23-year-old Paulina Sartori, a recent Syracuse University graduate. The number one complaint we hear from people everywhere is that gas prices are just too high. So we wanted to really do something to alleviate that a little bit. The promotion seemed very popular among patrons, and a TikTok video of the shimmy, shake, swaying shoulders, and gyrating hips amassed over 1 million views on social media. Quote, "What a great thing to make people smile a bit in this crazy world," a commentator now named Sylvie wrote. As promised, the dance moves also delivered discounts. Customers bill and customers Bill and Dan were the first ones to shake their butts and save some bucks. One woman saved $15 showing off her groove. They all left with their wallets, gas tanks, and hearts a little more full. Bill started twerking, kind of dropping it down, and got as low as he could, Sartori said with a laugh. Then we had Dan, who popped his hip out and whipped his head around, calling it his Michael Jackson move. The station said other cost-cutting discounts are being planned for the months ahead. Quote, "We want to bring some enjoyment to the people during these hard times whenever someone walks through the door." You know what? God bless people like that, having some fun and letting people get involved and saving some money as well. Well, we hope that your Tuesday is going well, and we Pray that you'll join us again for our programming and share, follow, all those good things. Go get you some Wolf Nation coffee here at the Wolf Nation Network. Remember, the wolf knows. Absolutely. Take care. See you soon.